Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Word on the street is it could be a chance within the next couple fights that Andry Cruz, the Cuban boxing phenom that's out here getting busy, could be taking on the Shakurican. Now, there's some people who are saying, why would the Shakurican fight Andry Cruz? Andry Cruz only has 3 fights. People are taking it to the stupid, talking about putting Andry Cruz in with the Shakurican. Let me tell you something. Andry Cruz is no normal professional boxer. This man is an Olympic gold medalist. He beat Keyshawn Davis 4 times as an amateur, and he's out here making these guys look foolish as a pro. He's only had 3 fights, but you can already see that he's on his way. I do think for Andry Cruz, and this is what Eddie Hearn plans on doing, you keep moving him up the ladder. You don't reverse. You don't even make lateral moves as far as his progression. You want to keep moving him up the ladder. So now it's time for Andry Cruz to get in there and bang with some top 10 opponents. And let me tell you something. When it comes to this guy, Andry Cruz, they're already talking about Andry Cruz and Eddie Hearn talking about Shakur Stevenson. Now, there's no money in that fight right now. But stylistically, it makes for an interesting talking point to see a guy with the footwork, the speed, the reflexes, the IQ of Andry Cruz getting in there with a guy like Shakur Stevenson. He has footwork, he has speed, he has IQ. And I'm not going to say one has more than the other. But what I'll say is right now, at least for me, it seems like, although it's only 3 fights, and you got to look at the caliber of opponents, as far as the eye test, a person would think Andry Cruz would get in there and bing, Shakur Stevenson, the Shakurican. That's not necessarily the case. Shakur's 1, 2, or 3 divisions, man. Shakur's been in there with some killers and handled business. Last outing, whatever. People want to, even I gave him the business, but he deserved that, right? Didn't really perform the way we were hoping he would perform. But I still think it's a little bit premature now to say that Andry Cruz, because you got Cuban Missile Crisis going on in boxing right now with these Cubans. They're getting busy, right? But to think that Andry Cruz can just get in there with the Shakurican and just clip him, I think we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. But there's a little bit of a uniqueness to what I'm talking about here, and as far as what's next for Andry Cruz. Now with Shakur Stevenson, he's supposed to return in late spring, early summer. Against who? I don't know what the hell Shakur Stevenson's doing. But what we do know is Shakur Stevenson is a champion, so I can't see Shakur Stevenson fooling around with no guy who's ranked between 10 and 15. I would think Shakur Stevenson would move on to take on the fight with a top 10 opponent or look to unify the division. But this right here is what you got. Shakur Stevenson's ranked number 4. And right now, let's just be real with ourselves. Andry Cruz. Look who's ranked number 10. Keyshawn Davis. You think Andry Cruz beats Keyshawn Davis? I do. I think he beats him. I think he embarrasses him. Hughes, Cambosos Jr., I think Andry Cruz beats both of them. Murataya, Frank Martin, I don't know about Frank Martin, but I do think Andry Cruz would be okay. Zapata, Stevenson, I don't know. I think Andry Cruz needs to put in a little more work. Cruz, Davis, Lomachenko, I don't know. But this is what makes it unique, is we're actually having a conversation about a guy who only has 3 professional fights. And we're talking about him and how he would fare against the ring's top 10 rack and stack. And it's hard for a person to say that Andy Cruz would lose against them. That's what's crazy. Now, for Eddie Hearn, I said in another video, Eddie Hearn has got he got 2 golden tickets, man. And I think everybody should learn how to speak a little Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Everybody. How do you say that shit? To learn Spanish, aprender español. Everybody needs to do that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because aprendemos, right? Aprendemos español. So we need to learn español, right? This aprendemos necesitamos español. I could be fucking that up, but you know what I'm saying. But when it comes to this shit right here, check this out. Watch this. Now, people keep talking about Floyd Schofield and Jose Valenzuela, right? Now, I don't know if that fight's going to be made. I keep hearing all kind of stuff with Jose Valenzuela's name lately and Floyd Schofield. But I don't know if that's going to work itself out. That's under the WBA column. But just imagine Andy Cruz against Jose Valenzuela. Valenzuela can crack, right? But who do you think wins that fight? Shakur Stevenson against Valenzuela. How do you think that fight goes? See, that's the question. See, do you understand what's going on here? Shakur Stevenson and Andy Cruz are kind of being put in the same category, almost at the same level. Some people think that's not fair to Shakur Stevenson, even though he looked a little crazy against Edwin De Los Santos. Now, Edwin De Los Santos is ranked number 3 by the WBA, number 5 by the WBC, and they have him ranked number, 10? Number 11, the WBO, and for some reason, they don't even have him ranked under the IBF, but you know how that goes. But when you take a look at this, as far as Shakur Stevenson, who's a WBC champion, trying to figure out his next fight, you know, I don't know what he's going to do. But I know he got Zepeda there, got Murataya. Who knows, Shakur Stevenson may have to face his mandatory. He may go right at him. I don't know. He may have he just fought De Los Santos, so he may have an option to face whoever he wants. But this is what's interesting about the 135-pound division, is this right here. You see the WBO and the IBF titles are vacant. There's no WBO champion. There's no IBF champion. So we know Kambosos and Lomachenko are fighting for that title. And over here for the WBO, I thought Baron Czech and somebody else was supposed to be fighting for the WBO title. But I can't remember off the top of my head. But the bottom line is, you can look at a guy like Shakur Stevenson. He has some options here to pick up some straps. But I do think with Andy Cruz, that Andy Cruz is going to we're going to see Andy Cruz end up fighting for a belt, probably by his third fight. I say by his fifth or sixth fight, Andy Cruz is going to be fighting for a belt. Now, and people are like, well, why would you say that about Andy Cruz, man? Because look at him. Andy Cruz, he's not ranked by the WBO, but he's ranked number 15 already at 3-0. He's ranked number 15 by the IBF. He's ranked number 12 by the WBC. And he's ranked number 15 by the WBA. That's crazy. That is crazy. So Andy Cruz with 3 fights is already ranked in 3 sanctioning bodies. And I'm telling you the way this works with the secret society and everything, right? If the Shakurican is still out here getting busy, right? And Andy Cruz wins his next 2 fights, but in fascinating fashion. Listen, they are going to bubble Andy Cruz. As far as where he's ranked now, they're going to push him all the way to the top to make a huge fight with the Shakurican or somebody else. But he's going to be fighting for a title. You better believe that, man. Now, there was a conversation where yesterday I was talking about the Shakurican, I was talking about Lomachenko, and I was talking about Andy Cruz. And what I was saying is, when Lomachenko turned pro, when Shakur Stevenson turned pro, at that point in time, the way Lomachenko was performing, could Shakur Stevenson, coming right out of the Olympics, have defeated Lomachenko? And basically, I talked to like four of us out there talking. Some people felt that Shakur Stevenson could have beat Lomachenko then. Some people felt that he couldn't beat him then. They feel that Shakur Stevenson can't beat Lomachenko now. So I said, okay, what about Andy Cruz? Right now, of course, him and Lomachenko, you'd have to favor Andy Cruz. I said, but as far as Andy Cruz, do you think he's going to be like Lomachenko and struggle when he gets in there with an opponent who's going to be aggressive and possibly dirty? And the answer to that was nah. Everybody, I mean, that was a consensus. Andy Cruz is built differently from Lomachenko. And that Andy Cruz isn't going to end up in a situation where he gets clipped or gets hurt or allows somebody to keep fouling him and he ends up losing a fight. So they don't expect Cruz to go a Lomachenko-Salido route. They don't expect it. They don't anticipate that. And I don't either. But I don't know, because maybe Eddie Hearn is paying it, because Eddie Hearn's not dumb. Maybe he's looking at how they fast-tracked Lomachenko. But remember, Lomachenko was old. The man fucked too long. Lomachenko missed out on a lot of his prime years because they kept him as an amateur to get them 2 gold medals and go dominate. His dad should have turned him pro probably maybe 5 or 6 years before he turned pro. He should have turned pro probably after his first gold medal, but they chose not to do it. But anyway, Eddie Hearn, I believe, kind of learned from that, watching how Bob Arum handled Lomachenko and how some people feel Lomachenko never really performed to his potential. But the one thing I'll tell you about Lomachenko is they are trying their best right now to take care of Lomachenko. Because that's why they put him here in position to get a crack at this IBF strap. But and they still got him ranked number 1 by the Ring magazine, which I think is crazy. But I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie Hearn says, you know what, we'll have you fighting some top 10 guys, but we're not necessarily going to put you in something to where it's a life or death type mission. They're not going to do that with him. But at the same time, there's some killers at 135. There's some killers at 135. And for Andy Cruz, you're going to have to make sure, man, that he stays on top of his game. And I think he's going to continue to do very well because he's already bringing that style of boxing that he learned out there in Cuba. Now he's working on the Jerome boots in his dad, and you can see the influence that gym and him as a coach has had on Andy Cruz's style, because he's gone from being a boxer puncher to puncher boxer. And I just think when you have a guy who can, not just hurt you, but outbox you, stress you out, frustrate you, just across the board, he does everything phenomenally. I just think Andy Cruz has a huge upside, and I think sky's the limit. So as far as him and the Shakurican fighting, I think it'll be an interesting fight. But to be fair to Shakur Stevenson, I think people are getting ahead of themselves saying Andy Cruz will beat him right now. I don't know about that. Shakur Stevenson is proven. You know what I'm saying? Shakur Stevenson is proven. And Andy Cruz is proving himself, but he's not proven yet. So let's hold our horses and not take it to the stupid. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents, in the breeze.